So piracy is obviously one of the things that eats into these strategies of price discrimination, because now if the price discrimination strategy is too obnoxious, people just download it from the internet. So I don't know if you followed, there's a real controversy going on in America right now with the studios blocking Redbox, which is a service that puts kiosks on corners, and you literally go and swipe your credit card and it drops out a DVD rental. And you go and you put it back in, and because they've got your credit card info, if you don't put it back in the box, they charge you for it. So it's like Blockbuster without having to pay any salaries. And it works really well, it's been incredibly successful, but they want to window the releases to it. They don't want this week's DVDs from the high street in the rental box, because it's so successful that it's competing with their high street sales. And so what they're doing is they're taking DVDs out of the rental boxes. They're saying no more Redbox for us. They won't sell to Redbox unless Redbox will promise not to put them in the boxes. They threaten to sue them. They threaten all kinds of other kind of legal maneuverings to keep them from doing it. But as a person walking home from work, if I go to the Redbox and they don't have my DVD, that's one more reason to go home and get it from the Pirate Bay. That's not a reason to go down the high street and pick it up, because chances are if I'm coming home from work, A, I don't have time, and B, the shop's already shut, and C, they probably don't have the title I'm looking for. So in order to protect this bit of revenue, they're actually driving people to piracy. And piracy, from a price discrimination perspective, isn't all bad, because what piracy does is it allows you to serve a market at the bottom end of people who don't worry about doing something illegitimate or who are extremely price sensitive. And what that means is that you can exempt those people from your price calculations. You don't need to make an offering to the people who are at the bottom end of the market that will then be so low that it may be worth the while of someone at the top end of the market to take some extraordinary step to take advantage of. Like, you know, if any of you are frequent flyers and you fly BA, they do great deals from the continent. So you can buy an EasyJet ticket to like Lisbon and then buy a ticket back through London to New York and get a business class fare for half price. Right? So this is them trying to serve one of the poorest countries in Europe to get their business travelers in the door. So they've got this deal that's absolutely stellar in Lisbon, and there's a certain amount of British business travelers, because the price difference is so great between their full fare business ticket and the full fare business ticket in Lisbon, for whom it's actually worth spending an extra morning on the way to New York flying to Lisbon. You can do it on EasyJet for 50 quid. You just, off you go, and then you board in Lisbon. They've got a lovely lounge there, and they call it the Lisbon Loop. And it gets you to New York at half price in business class. And so if you can take the bottom end of the market out, then you no longer have to make offerings that are so low that they might tempt your very best customers into doing a Lisbon Loop, into taking a morning off. So it changes the median price upwards. And as Tim O'Reilly, of course, has said, the problem for most artists isn't piracy, it's obscurity. So for a lot of us, giving away free stuff brings in new people who might someday buy stuff. And that's certainly been my strategy all along. I've really felt like, by and large, electronic books don't act as a substitute for printed books, they act as an enticement. Most people who get the electronic book neither buy the printed book nor read the electronic book, they just throw it away in the kind of free ebook universe, because they download the book by clicking a link and they look at it and they go, that's not something I'm interested in, and they walk away from it. But for a certain percentage, they go on to buy it, and those are free sales for me. Those are sales that I wouldn't have made otherwise. And so far it's worked pretty well. My last kids book did 90,000 hardcovers, has been sold into 18 markets, 17 languages. We sold the film rights to the guy who made Transformers. We've got a stage play on, audiobook from Random House Audio, all done very well. So I'm pretty happy about it. I don't have a time machine. I can't go back and re-release it without the free ebook to see how many copies I would have sold, but I'm pretty happy with it. My agent's happy with it. My publishers are happy with it. One of the things that drives people to piracy is being told as a condition of a purchase that they can and can't do X or Y, that it's against the rules. So you can't loan it to a friend anymore. It's an ebook, so you can't loan it to a friend, even though for as long as books have existed, and certainly longer than publishers have existed, and even longer than printing has existed, and probably longer than paper has existed, loaning books has been the norm. We now have these fiat agreements, these fiat terms that are handed down when you buy an ebook that says you may not loan it. And what you can and can't do with the book is not, it's making a moral case that if you do it, you're stealing from us. If you loan the book to a friend, if it's an electronic book, you're stealing from it, is not, in my view, a very compelling story to tell to people who are buying your products or who are prospective purchasers of your products. And getting behind that message that in the 21st century, the story of media is that you can do less with it, and that uses that used to come for free now get paid on a per usage basis, I think runs contrary to that kind of dominant narrative of the 21st century. I think it makes people very skeptical of commercial offerings when you say, well, you have to understand there's a new business reality now, and we have the internet and computers. From now on, you can do less with your media. It used to be that you bought a CD and then you could rip it and you could put it on your iPod and you could use it as a ringtone, you could use it to, for your alarm clock and put it on a home server. But from now on, if you buy an iTunes, what you can do is determined by a 26,000 word license agreement that sets the terms and conditions, and that no person in their right mind would ever agree to. I think somewhere in there it's like, and we get the right to come over to your house and wear your underwear and clean up your fridge and punch your grandmother and no one would ever like sit down across a table and negotiate this agreement. It's kind of this farcical lawyer's wish list of what you might extract maximum value from the punters with. And I don't think that people believe it. I think that it's if you're trying to build the moral case for buying stuff instead of taking it for free, telling people that the reason they should pay for it is the 21st century means you get less rights to the stuff you buy is not going to be a compelling story to tell them. So the biggest risk to me of piracy isn't lost sales, although clearly some businesses have lost sales to piracy and it presents a risk. It's that anti-piracy technology, digital rights management technology, fundamentally shifts the balance of power in sales channels and distribution channels. So look at Amazon's Kindle and Amazon's Audible. So Audible is now 90% of the audiobook market. They're the only supplier licensed to sell into Apple's iTunes, which is the main channel for audiobook consumption now. Random House Audio these days, when they do my audiobooks, they don't even do CDs anymore, right? It's just digital distribution. Now, Audible has DRM, and the DRM, among other things, the DRM comes with a contract that you have to click through that says that you are sacrificing all the rights that copyright would otherwise give you as a purchaser. So it's starting off by telling people you get less rights because it's the 21st century. But it also locks your music or your audiobooks to one device or one family of devices, those devices that Amazon likes. Now, I'm an audiobook guy. I love audiobooks. I listen to a lot of audiobooks. And over the years, I've probably spent, call it 10,000 quid on audiobooks, right? Over 25 years of buying audiobooks. If I bought only Audible books with those audiobooks, the cost of switching to another vendor who doesn't support Audible's devices is the cost of throwing away that whole library. Which means that you, as an audiobook publisher, if you want to break with the Kindle, or if you want to break with Audible and sell into another platform, you have to be willing to believe that your customers will throw away all their investment in your products. And every time you sell another book through Audible, your customers get a greater incentive to stay with the vendor and to not follow you if you leave the vendor, which gives the vendor more leverage over you. And the same is true with the Kindle. So even Kindle's DRM-free books come in a format whose status is unknown. So when they announced the DRM-free Kindle books, I sent a letter, they sent me a press release announcing it, and I sent a letter back to their media department saying, that's great, I just had a couple of follow-up questions. The first is, your DRM-free book, is there anything in the license agreement or in the IP in the book, so patents or trade secrets, that would prevent someone from making a competing reader for it? Right? So is there anything that stops someone else from making a reader that could do it? Is there anything in there that stops a reader from converting it to play on another platform or for making software to do that? And then lastly, is there anything about the DRM-free books that would stop someone from doing what they've just done with the Read Aloud Kindle books, where they took away the Read Aloud feature after people had bought it, and that would stop people from revoking the books. Remember, they revoked 1984, and they didn't answer the question. Then O'Reilly, who just released their whole catalog into the Kindle DRM-free, asked the same question to their sales rep, and they didn't answer the question. No comment, they literally wouldn't answer the emails. And then my agent asked, and they wouldn't answer the question. Then I published it in The Guardian, and they wouldn't answer the question. And then I went and spoke at the Tools of Change conference at Frankfurt Book Fair, and they wouldn't answer the question. So my guess is that the answer to the question is, we do all the things by contract law, copyright law, and IP rights that we used to do through DRM in this. That the DRM-free Kindle book is essentially a DRM Kindle book. It doesn't have scrambling on it. Instead, it has a whole bundle of IP rights and contractual obligations that lock your readers to these devices.